All right. Hello, everybody. This is Brittany Watkins, and welcome to this online training. I am going to formally introduce myself in a minute. But for right now, while we're waiting for the other people and for everybody to get on, go ahead and grab a pen and a piece of paper so that you can take some notes today. And we actually sent you a worksheet for this training. You can also download it on this page. So if you haven't done that, like just while we're getting ready to, to do this training and to learn a bunch of stuff, I really want you to be prepared because you're going to have a lot of aha moments today. And I want you to be able to write down what comes up for you in the moment. So just take some time right now to go ahead and do that while we get situated. So again, like I said, I'm going to formally introduce myself in a little bit, but if you don't know me already, I'm a weight loss coach, and I'm known for my unique strategies that get to the root cause of food cravings and emotional eating by actually changing the brain chemistry. So today we're going to talk about weight loss blockers, which is something that I discovered in my 20 plus years that I've been studying the psychological reasons behind extra weight. So you'll see today my face kind of follow you around a little bit. I'm used to doing more videos, but so this is just kind of a way that I can feel connected to you while we do this. All right, so what you are going to learn today is you're actually going to travel through your past and you are going to pick out the exact moments that shaped your body and your weight right now. And that might not make sense to you right now, but I'm going to actually explain that in a bit. That's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So one of the other reasons that I want you to download the worksheet that's on this page so that you have it with you is because I'm going to be asking you some questions and we're going to be doing some exercises, and what you're going to be doing is you're actually going to be creating your own weight loss blocker roadmap so that you'll know the exact reasons that you've held on to this extra weight. All right, so the plan for today's training is that I'm going to answer the most common question that I get, which is, Brittany, I know what to eat, I know how to exercise, but I just can't make myself stick to it. So today, what I want to talk about is I want to solve that mystery for why you eat chocolate when you're on a diet, or why you can't stop eating when you know you're not really hungry, or why you can't really get a handle on your weight issue. You know, I know you're a smart woman. You've probably got a lot of other things in your life figured out, and this is the one thing that's held you back. And so I really want you to walk away from this training with some huge aha moments. You know, for me, I feel like I've kind of been a detective my whole life trying to figure out why the mind works the way that it works when it comes to food and weight. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my story and why I'm so passionate about that in a minute. But the reason that I'm making this training for you is because I finally figured it out. You know, it took me over 15 years to figure out why we hold on to extra weight, why we suffer from food cravings, why we can't stick to diets, and when we give ourselves rules, we break them, and why we can't lose those pounds, whether it's 5 pounds, 10 pounds, or 100 pounds. What makes it so hard? Why is it so easy for some people and it's so hard for most of us? And so today I am going to answer these questions for you. My intention is that you walk away knowing exactly why you can't stick to a diet, why you sabotage yourself as soon as you start seeing or noticing any results, or when people start complimenting you, if that happens to you, why you keep sabotaging yourself with unhealthy foods like chocolate and cookies and pizza when you want to lose weight and when you're on a healthy eating plan, and also why you feel so out of control around food if you feel like that. So let's just jump right in. So I first kind of want to just give a little overview of what a weight loss blocker is. So weight loss blockers, in the, like I said, 15 plus years that I've been studying this, I discovered 7 psychological weight loss blockers that cause people to hold on to or to gain weight. And they're stored in your subconscious mind, which means that you're not aware of them. So, I didn't figure this all out overnight. This was definitely, like I said, this was a 15-year struggle. I figured out one weight loss blocker, then another weight loss blocker, and then another weight loss blocker. And I actually didn't even put the word weight loss blocker on them. I just found these subconscious blocks that I'm like, oh, this is what's stopping me. And so every time I would overcome one, I would notice a huge change in either my weight or my eating behavior. And then when I started working with clients, I would try this stuff out on them as well. So it took me about 15 years to discover, all 7 of these subconscious weight loss blockers. And what was really cool is that I knew that, for me, struggling with weight was so frustrating because I finally got to the point where I knew that I was eating when I wasn't really hungry, which meant that I was eating emotionally. So I'd read some of Janine Roth's books, and she, I feel like, was the first person to kind of have that light bulb moment for a lot of us and go, oh, I'm eating when I'm not really hungry, and that's my problem here. But what I couldn't ever make work was I couldn't make the techniques work. I was like, okay, now I know I have this problem, but what do I do to solve it? So, any of the techniques, and I really, like, to say I was obsessed with this is an understatement. I really dove in and I studied from every single person that I could get my hands on to try to understand, this eating behavior and why. And I talked to therapists and hypnosis and, did all the alternative things that you could ever possibly do. And what I realized is that there's this really powerful thing called the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind actually controls about 80% of your behavior, and only 20%, which is the conscious mind, which is the part of us that says, no, I'm not going to eat that chocolate cake. No, you're on a diet. You shouldn't have that soda right now. Or, the part of you that you can actually kind of talk to and have conversations with and give orders to, that part could only control 20% of my behavior. So I was like, okay, my willpower sucks. There's no way that I can tell myself to not eat the chocolate cake when I want to eat the chocolate cake. So I realized that I had to trick my mind into having better willpower. And the way to do that was to really understand the subconscious mind. And so I just dove headfirst into everything that I could find on the subconscious mind. I studied NLP, I studied EFT, I've studied, with lots of amazing, amazing psychologists and some of the best people and some of the biggest and brightest minds on that speak and that teach about the subconscious mind, because I knew that my answer was there. And I knew that, if I could trick myself into not wanting food, then I didn't have to have that willpower and tell myself no, because that was a really painful experience. And I hated that. I hated to tell myself no, because it was such, I'm sure you go through this too, where you have that tug of war contest where it's that push pull, like, no, I shouldn't have the chocolate, but I really want it. No, but I shouldn't have it, but I really want it. And that was going on all day long. And it was just so distracting. It's all I could think about was food. And so, I really knew that the key here was in the subconscious mind. So the weight loss blockers, what we're going to be talking about today is the 7 subconscious weight loss blockers. So these are things that you're not even aware of. You will have never heard any of this information that you've heard, that you're going to hear today from anybody else, because nobody's talking about this, at least yet. So what I want for you is I want for you to understand and have a clear roadmap of the exact reasons that you haven't been successful. So one of the things that happens when you learn about the subconscious mind and how to remove your weight loss blockers is that it actually will change your weight set point. So I know, probably most of you know what that means, but basically weight loss blockers cause you to hold on to extra weight, and it doesn't matter how much you exercise or you can eat right. Something will always sabotage you and your behavior. This is that subconscious mind will always sabotage you because of these weight loss blockers. And so what I noticed with myself and with my students in the 5 years that I've been teaching this work is that it actually changes the weight set point so that it makes it easy to follow a healthy eating and exercise plan, or the weight just falls off naturally and you don't really even have to think about it. You can walk by a plate of cookies and not be tempted to eat them at all. You could easily stick to any plan. You can tell yourself no, and it's not this tug of war contest that's going on, which is so amazing, let me tell you. Oh my gosh. And that you can actually be excited and motivated to exercise, and it doesn't have to be this this crappy thing that you dread. So that's really what, that's kind of my promise to you. If you dive into this and you really understand and you start to understand what your weight loss blockers are, you'll be able to do this stuff easily. And I know that sounds like a big promise right now, but just stick with me because I promise I'm going to prove it to you. So, distractions, just, the work that I do, we've already started talking about the subconscious mind. The work that I do, the energy that I put out there is really powerful. And I'll explain why in a minute, but the weight, your extra weight has actually been doing something positive for you, or at least your subconscious mind thinks so. So anybody like me that comes in and starts talking about the subconscious mind, I'm going to be triggering the parts of you that want to hold on to this weight. For a good reason. And you're going to find out what your good reasons are in this training today. But one of the things that happens often is that when part of you gets triggered by a potential big change, you'll get easily distracted. Maybe somebody will come in the room, you'll start to look at your phone. I notice myself do this every time I kind of zone out. It's because there's something that I'm really supposed to learn and get from this. So just to make things easy, just go ahead and shut down all the other browsers and just really, really intend to be fully present here. Put your phone in airplane mode. It's one of the coolest things that I do. I love it. All right, so today's handout is, we've talked about it already, but we just sent you an email about an hour ago that's got the subject line, it starts soon with another gift. Also, you can download it right here on this page. You can download it. It looks like this right here, but I want you to be able to take notes with this training. Okay, so my background, my professional background, I'm an international speaker, I'm a trainer, I'm an author, and I'm the founder of the Watkins Method Tapping for Weight Loss. I recently led a 3-day workshop in Brussels, Belgium, to 40 peers in psychology and counseling. And that's actually where this training came from. They were so excited. We had a half a day's worth of training. I did a 3-day training, and then I had a half a day on the third day. And I was like, I kind of showed them all like my best and coolest techniques. And I was like, what else can I teach them? And I taught them about the weight loss blockers. And this was just when everybody was like, oh my gosh, now it finally makes sense. So before in the first couple of days, we were healing things and we were fixing things and changing things. But then on the last day, I kind of explained to them why we're doing what we're doing. And so that's where this training came out of, was just seeing their excitement. And they actually got so excited that they're licensing my method from me. And this work now, the Watkins method, and the work that I'm teaching is going to be taught in French and in Spanish, which is really cool. So Skinny Jeans was my first program that I ever created. It was published by Energy Psychology Press, which is now owned by Hay House. And I've helped thousands of students all over the world in about 20 different countries. All right, so a little bit about my story. My first weight loss blocker was formed when I came home from school and I saw a note that said, "You don't live here anymore." And you'll learn later in the program that this actually caused my first weight loss blocker. It's called the What Happened Last Time weight loss blocker. And it's when something really bad happens to you right before a lot of weight comes on, and it's very common. So maybe you can think of something in your own story right now. But anyway, for me, this is when my food and weight issues began. And, obviously, being on my own at such a young age, I was 15 years old. I shuffled around and I was staying at friends' houses and things like that. And then they started asking, like, where are her parents and how long is she planning on staying with us? And so I just, decided that I would just go off on my own. I didn't want to impose, and I didn't want to, I didn't really want to explain my story to anybody. So I realized in that moment that I had to make a decision. I could either find somebody else to take care of me, or I could take care of myself. And this big traumatic thing made me not trust people. So I decided that I was just going to take care of myself and pay rent. So using this as an example, can you see how my past would have affected me as an adult? And can you think of anything in your own story right now and in your past that still may be affecting you in a negative way? So from that decision, I put my game face on and I found a room for rent at a local newspaper. I got a job at Ace Hardware. I was making $5.50 an hour. And I just decided that from then on, I was going to be independent. But obviously being independent wasn't so easy, especially at that age. I was angry and I was pissed off at my family for kicking me out. And of course, there were definitely problems before all of this happened. Excuse me. I definitely was not the best kid. I was definitely headed in the wrong direction. But of course, in that moment, it didn't justify the emptiness and the abandonment I felt inside. So when I was all alone in that little room that I rented in that house, all of my grief and my sorrow and my abandonment would come up to the surface. And that's when I would start to eat. and eating and stuffing myself until I could just no longer fit one more crumb in my mouth was the only way that I knew how to cope with the emotions that I was feeling inside. And at first I didn't realize what I was doing. I just woke up one day and was like, oh wow, I can't fit into my jeans. Excuse me. So what do? You go on a diet, right? So of course, when you're dieting, I'm sure you've all had this experience. You try every different diet, right? The cabbage soup diet, the potato diet, the nothing but chocolate diet, the crazy pills diet. Oh my gosh, I literally tried everything. That gross food that they deliver to your door. I'm sorry, I'm coughing like right now. I probably tried about 50 diets. Actually, one of my students posted in in our private Facebook forum today, a photo of all of her books that she bought for weight, to overcome her weight problems. And I think she said she had something like 150 different books, something like that. And she was giving them all away. She's an accountant. She calculated all the money that she spent on all these books throughout her whole lifetime. And now she's finally able to throw them away. That was a really cool post. It reminds me of that. Anyway, back to my story. So, I developed this pattern where I was dieting and I was binging. So I was telling myself, okay, I've got to lose weight. I've got to go on a diet. And so what do, right? You deprive yourself. You eat chicken breasts and broccoli and all the things that you're supposed to eat on a diet. And then I would, I'd only be able to stick to that, and I'd be so unhappy and, so angry by the end of the third day. I'd end up binging on 3 Mexican pizzas. And then I'd also wake up in the next morning and go for a 5-mile run. So I developed this pattern where I would wake up every morning and start a new diet, and I would vow to myself that today would be different, and that I would stick to my diet and all those things that you do. And then of course, by the end of the day or the end of a couple days, I would just completely blow it. And I'm sure that you guys can relate to this story. I mean, you wouldn't be here if you couldn't. So I was doing this for a long time until I met a mentor who's still in my life today, Stephen Kessler, that I started to get a handle on it. He taught me this mind-body technique, this crazy thing that looked insane. But once I gave it a chance, it really worked. And as soon as I started to use that, everything in my life started to change. My relationship with my family changed. My financial situation changed. My, cravings, I got a handle on my cravings. But that wasn't the end of my problems. I kept struggling with my weight. I would go up 5 pounds, down 10 pounds, up 15, that pattern, until I discovered, like I said, what the weight loss blockers were. So again, I didn't find these all at once. I found one and then another and another and another. But finally, when I understood what all my weight loss blockers were, I was finally able to completely get a hold of my eating, and there was no willpower at all. It was like I stopped eating emotionally. I stopped sabotaging myself. I literally dropped 20 pounds. I've kept it off for 5 years now, and I have not even, that was without even trying. So I'll show you my before and after photos here. So I realized that there was this pattern with my own results, right? And I kind of looked at this like an experiment. So as I was testing this stuff on me, I had a completely different career. I just used to do this for fun because I was so obsessed with trying to overcome my own weight struggle. And I think intuitively, I always just kind of felt and knew that this would be something that I would teach in the future. So I was really, really committed to finding this, to finding a solution to this. And so once I started to have some results with myself, I started to take on clients, and I would experiment with them, and I would see, gosh, I'm doing this with myself. I don't know if it'll work with you though. And it started to work with them. And so then I developed this system where I finally figured out, okay, if we get rid of this block and then this block and then this block and then this block, all their weight falls off and they don't have a weight or an eating issue anymore. So this is a story. This is actually one of my good friends, Caitlin. Caitlin Weeks, she's a really well-known paleo nutritional coach, and she came to me because she couldn't get a handle on her emotional eating and some of her cravings. She'd lost like 100 pounds already, but she still had like these last 30 or something to go. And she noticed that she was overeating, and there were some things that were really hard for her to control herself around. And, once we worked together, once I showed her and I made the connection, we talked about the weight loss blocker, she was able to lose the last, 30 or so pounds that she had to lose. And it was not a struggle at all for her. And the other reason that I'm sharing this story with you, her story, is because I work with a lot of fitness and nutrition professionals. And so if you're in that field and you're listening to this and you're watching this right now, please don't be ashamed. I do this all the time, and I work with a lot of people that teach health and fitness, and they don't have it figured out either. And there's a lot of shame that comes with that because you feel really inauthentic. And I want you to know that I've totally been there. I get it. I totally understand. And this is like a totally safe place, and you will definitely find the answers to your questions here. So yeah, it's just super, super common. So we did a study about 5 years ago on one of the first groups of students that went through one of my programs, and we found that the 54 women that were in my advanced program, we worked with them over a 6-month period, lost an average of 19.8 pounds, with the highest being 70 and the lowest being 10. The coolest point here, though, is that we actually followed them over a period of 5 years, and not one single person has gained their weight back, which is pretty unheard of in the weight loss industry. Most people end up gaining their weight back. So that's really fun to share with you guys. Okay, so basically what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit more about where weight loss blockers come from and what they are. And then I'm actually going to go into an in-depth explanation of the 3 most common weight loss blockers. I'd love to tell you about all of them, but we probably don't have the time to do that. So, okay. All right, so let's just jump in. Weight loss blockers. So the weight loss blockers are, I've kind of already told you this. They're in your subconscious mind, and they're causing you to keep weight on. There's some good reasons for being there. They're there to help you in some way. Okay, weight loss blockers, as I kind of started to explain to you with my story, they actually come from past experiences. So I know this sounds really strange. We're not talking about, diet or what you eat or what you don't eat or if you exercise or not. I'm telling you, weight actually comes from past experiences. And I feel like people kind of know this intuitively, right? They'll say they'll talk about things like having baggage. So, when think about baggage, like when somebody has an emotional, they have a lot of emotions, or, we call them baggage. What is that? That's extra weight that's showing up on your body. So these things come from past experiences, and they cause you to crave food and to eat when you're not really hungry. And so here's one of the hard truths, is that it doesn't really matter how many calories you eat or burn off at the gym. If you have weight loss blockers about your food, about your body, you won't be able to lose weight and keep it off. And that is why you have been struggling. Or if you do lose weight, it'll be really, really hard. You'll have to do this management thing where you keep checking in. And if you don't keep checking in, then it could get out of control. And that just sucks. I mean, that's all you think about. You obsess about it. It's tiring. Like, nobody wants that. It's terrible. All right. So I know a lot of you guys, and I always get this question, Brittany, how do we overcome our weight loss blockers? I'm going to talk to you about that. And at the end of the program, if you guys want to take this further, I'm definitely going to give you an opportunity to do that as well. So for those of you that I know are here for that, you'll have to wait for that till the end. All right, so there's 7 major weight loss blockers, okay? And where they can come from. So some of you might want to take notes right now, but where they can come from, some of the things that they come from are a divorce, a bad breakup. And I want you to, as I'm talking about this, I want you to kind of scan your past and be thinking about some of the things that have happened to you, and actually think about your weight fluctuations as these things have happened. Like, okay, I got divorced, or I had that bad breakup. Did I gain weight after that, or did I not? Okay, a death in the family, or a death, anybody that's close to you dying, even an animal. Something someone said. Okay, we'll get into this a little bit later. I'll give you an example of this, but something someone said to you. So it could be something that, if you grew up and your family commented on your weight a lot, that could be a thing. If you could have gotten older and somebody said something about your weight, some of these things just, those things that just stick with you, that you can't get out of your head, those things. You lost weight and something bad happened. I'll give you an example of that as well, but just, be thinking about that also. Sexual abuse, any kind of sexual abuse. A negative relationship with your parent or authority figure. Your parent telling you that you can't leave the table until all your food is gone. I'm sure this is a common one. Or actually, it doesn't have to be negative memories all the time. There can actually be positive memories and positive associations of eating foods with people you love. And I'm going to talk about this one as well. That's a really, really common weight loss blocker that I want you guys to understand. I want to talk about Veronica really quick. Veronica, she is a gorgeous mom of 2. And, we actually met in a personal development class, and she's done a lot of personal development work in her life, and she pulled me aside one day after she figured out what I did, and she said, I just can't figure out why I can't get a handle on this. And she had overcome so many things in her life, and she was so successful in so many other areas of her life that she felt really ashamed that she couldn't have success with this one thing. And so after she came in and, we worked with her and we taught her some of the techniques and she started using them, she was able to lose the weight. And I think it's been 2 years for her now. And the weight has continued to stay off. She's one of my favorite clients. And I think she has such a great story because, I know I felt like that. Like I'd done so much work on myself and I'd grown in so many ways, but the weight, I just still struggled with this weight thing. And, I don't know if you feel like that too, but you probably do. All right, so let's get into the very first weight loss blocker. So the first weight loss blocker is called your feelings are stuck in the food. And if you have this weight loss blocker, you probably look a little bit like this whenever food comes around or whenever you're around your favorite foods. So normally if you have this weight loss blocker, you do things like you can't keep certain foods in the house. So if there's chocolate in the house, I'm going to eat it. So you keep it out. Or if there's ice cream in the freezer, I'm going to eat it. So you keep it out. So these are very, very common behaviors of people who have their feelings stuck in the food. So I want you to get your hand out or the pen and the piece of paper that you have. And we're going to do a little exercise. And we're going to help you discover where this weight loss blocker came from. All right, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to think of your favorite food. So you probably have a lot of them. I know most people have like 20 or 30, but I want you to think about, just one in particular that's probably your favorite. And I want you to write that food down. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer with the first thing that pops into your mind. Who does this food remind you of? So what person in your life does this food remind you of? Or when was the first time you ate this food? Or what are some of the best memories that you have of eating this food early in childhood? This will usually be early in childhood. Sometimes it can be later in life. I had a woman that was addicted to a certain type of French food, and she went on her honeymoon in France. So that was her correlation. So it doesn't have to be from childhood, but most of the time it's from childhood. All right, now if the food was in front of you, how badly would you want to eat it right now on a scale from 0 to 10? So fill that number in. If you have your companion guide, your weight loss blocker worksheet, you'll have a little bubble there that you can fill in. And so if you have higher than a 5 for this, if the food is there in front of you and you'd eat it like a 5 or a 10, most of you are probably like an 8, 9, or a 10, you'd probably have this weight loss blocker. You definitely have this weight loss blocker. All right, so let's talk about how to do or how this weight loss blocker came to be. All right, so basically what happens is when we have positive memories and early childhood experiences of eating certain foods with someone we love, your brain literally hardwires that connection of those emotions with that food. And so if you think about you're having a stressful day, the kids are freaking out, your boss is yelling at you, you're rushing around from place to place. what's the best way to feel better? Eating one of your favorite foods. Because what's happening is subconsciously, remember that part of you, that 80% of you that controls most of your behavior, that part of you is flooded with all the same feelings that you had when you were a kid. So a lot of people will talk about making cookies with grandma and what an amazing time that was, or going for ice cream on Sundays with dad. Like that was your special day that you used to connect with dad. Or, maybe you and mom used to bake cakes together and you were her little helper, kind of like here on the screen. So all this, what happens is your brain, and I still don't understand why this happens for some people and why it doesn't happen for other people. But for people who have food problems, or when you crave certain foods, it's because the wires got crossed in your brain, and your brain now thinks that every time you eat that food, that you subconsciously get flooded with those same positive memories and those same feelings of love and affirmation and comfort and connection that you had from that early childhood experience. Okay, so if you think about some of the different foods that you have, I'm sure that you have positive memories linked back to childhood when you used to eat those foods in a really positive environment. Now, if you're like the 1% of people that say, well, I have those foods, but they're not linked to positive memories, that's actually a different weight loss blocker. So that is something different. And that is a weight loss blocker. And if you don't have positive memories attached to the food, then that means that you don't have this one, which is good. But I would say about 99.9% of people have this one, and it's really strong. But the cool thing is that we can break that connection, and we can tell your brain, hey, the food and these feelings aren't coming from the food, they're coming from this memory. And so we literally do like one exercise. It takes us about 15, 20 minutes, and we can give the brain different information and tell it that not to go for this food to get all those good feelings. However, you can still eat those types of foods when you want. You just don't want to have as much of it. You won't find yourself binging on them like you probably are. You won't find yourself, eating a whole bar of chocolate. You'll just be able to have a couple squares of chocolate. All right. So a good example of this. So Katie's story, oh my gosh. So her father, this is really interesting. She went through a program about 4 years ago, and Katie's father was a chef. And her and her father didn't really have that close of a bond. Her father kind of just didn't really know how to connect with her that well, but he did when he was cooking for her. And so he actually taught her how to be a chef. And that was her way of getting her father's love, was by eating his food and by being in the kitchen with him. And so, of course, years later, when she's all grown up and she's an adult, she's like, oh my gosh, I've gained 60 pounds. Like, what is wrong with me? Because what was happening is that every time she would feel not loved, or, she wouldn't feel good, she would eat some food, and it would remind her of how comforted and how safe and how amazing she felt when she was eating that food when she was with her father. And so once we were able to tell her brain different information and say, hey, actually, those feelings aren't in the food, they're just with these memories, and we were able to change her subconscious programming and remove her weight loss blockers, she was able to drop, it was 24 pounds, and I know she's kept it off because we've kept in touch. She's a really good friend. This is Christine. Christine has a history. Her family used to drink soda, and I remember when she came to us, she was having I think she said it was 2 liters of Coke per day, and that was something that was really prominent in her family. So her family used to drink Coke, and so later on when she grew up and she was out of the house, she was drinking this Coke as a way, because she felt like she was missing her family, so she was drinking her Coke. She was drinking this Coke as a way to remind her and keep her close to her family. So I'm sure you're having some ideas, and you're connecting some dots of some of the foods and some of the positive memories that have happened from your childhood. This is really common too with big families, like if you have an Italian family or a Greek family or somebody like that, where food is really celebrated, where everybody comes around the table and you really connect, and that's your way of connecting. You'll have this also very strong. All right, so let's get into the weight loss blocker 2. I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this so far, and hope the weight loss blocker number 1 really sunk in with you. So weight loss blocker number 2, this is the what happened last time. So I kind of started to talk about this already with my story. So this is the weight loss blocker when something bad happens and then you gain a bunch of weight right after that. So I want you to think about your past, and I want you to think about kind of your weight history. And if you're like most people, you probably have had like a few fluctuations, or maybe you haven't had any fluctuations. Maybe you're at a normal weight and then all of a sudden you gained weight and you've never been able to take it off. So I want you to think about that time. And if you've had a lot of fluctuations, I want you to think about the first time you put on weight. So some people grow up and, they feel like they've had a weight problem since they were little. Some people, have it at a certain age. So I want you to back up right before that weight spike happened, back up to your history and figure out and write down what happened the last time you were at your, like a normal kind of weight for you. All right, what happened? So we're going to do a little exercise here. So I want you to think back and I want you to make some notes. Was it's something someone said? Did something bad happen? Maybe you didn't like who you were at that time in your life, or maybe you made some bad decisions. So just write down your thoughts here. I'm going to give you an example. I had a client once that I worked with who she lost a bunch of weight. She went on like Weight Watchers or something and she lost a bunch of weight, and she was feeling really good about herself, right? Because she was finally at her goal weight and she felt really good. And then she went out and she started kind of like partying a little bit more than she normally did. And she went out and she met a guy and they had I think they just had a one night stand. She ended up having a baby with this guy and the guy was a total nightmare. She loved her son. That was a total blessing, but the guy was a total nightmare. And so she'd never been able to lose weight after that. So what happened is her subconscious mind actually thought that if she lost weight, that something really bad like that would happen again. Okay, so I want you to think about what's happened in your own history and your own story and write those things down. So I'm going to ask you guys to send me your comments and send me your aha moments. I want to know what they are. I'm going to give you all my information at the end of this. I want you to send me a message on Facebook or send me a message in email and just tell me what happens for you. So I want to know what your aha moments are. All right, this is Marge. I love Marge's story, and this might actually help you give you some aha moments as well. So Marge, actually, she'd also lost weight too, following, a healthy diet and exercise plan. Weight Watchers probably seems to be the popular one. And she was managing her weight. She'd kept it off, but one of her best friends said to her, you've just really changed since you lost this weight. And that affected her so much that she felt like her friend, she felt like she was going to lose her friend. And so what ended up happening is she put all this weight that she had worked so hard to take off, she put all this weight back on. And it wasn't until about 10 years later that she came into my program that she was able to put that piece of the puzzle together and she got back down to her ideal weight. So it can be something as simple as that, you guys. So really, I want you to really, really think back to, what was it that happened for you? So normally if I'm in a live workshop and I'm talking about this, people's faces start to look a little bit like this. So if you're having some aha moments, like I said, please write those down for me. I really want to hear from you. This stuff is so exciting for me to teach because I feel like I know personally I was looking for this information for so long and I was so sick of reading and listening to all the same regurgitated information, telling me to eat healthy and exercise to lose weight because that wasn't working for me. And even the stuff where people talked about the subconscious mind, that wasn't working for me either. And so, I really love to hear from you and I really, really love to hear your aha moments that you have from this. I once had somebody come up to me, she was a really prominent psychologist and she was in her 70s. And she had a major practice in New York City at the time. And she came up to me at the end of the workshop and she said, Brittany, I have worked with some of the most famous people in NLP and psychology, and I have never in my life been able to figure out why I've had weight issues. You are the first person that has been able to teach me why I've struggled with this my whole life. And she was 70, at the time. She's like, man, I wish I would have known about this 20 years ago or whatever. But that was just that was kind of like a moment where time stopped for me. And so I really, it's helpful for me, and it gives me energy and drive to get more of this information out there when you guys give me your feedback and tell me how this is affecting you. So we still have one more weight loss blocker to cover. And it's actually the strongest and most powerful one. So hang in there with me because we're going to talk about that soon. So the other thing that I want to talk about too is like how, we've talked a lot about where the weight loss blockers come from, but how does this affect your life? Like, I know for me, I was just a crazy person. I felt always like obsessed with food and with the diets. And, I know my mom struggled with this as well. And, I know when she was feeling bad about herself, she would treat us differently and she wouldn't want to play with us and she would snap at us more easily. So, maybe if I don't have kids yet, but if you have kids, maybe that affects your relationship with them, or, your relationship with your significant other. How, it doesn't feel good to get naked and have sex and be intimate when you don't feel good about your body, does it? Or if you're single, the last thing you want to do is go out on a date, right? Or, if you get invited out with friends, you say no. I mean, I've done all of these things. You feel so bad about your body and you feel so insecure about, the way that you look that you say no to going out and to connecting with people. And it can be a really, really lonely process. This is why I'm so passionate about this, is because I struggled with this for so long. And when I finally found the answer and I finally broke free from this, I was like, every woman needs to know this, because women are so powerful. And when we suffer with these things and we struggle with this, it takes away from our power and from our ability to make an impact and a difference in the world. And I believe that we're all able to do that, and we all have the power to do that. And I really believe that this is the thing that stops us. And also let's talk about that constant mental dialogue, right? Like, think about how crazy you are when you're on a diet, or when you feel fat, or, when you're criticizing your body, or you're thinking, oh crap, I ate something bad, or you're planning your next diet, right? Like all the mental things that go on in your mind. It's just like, it's insane. And I really, I don't want that for you. I want you to be free from this. And I want to be also the example to you, to tell you that it is possible to break free from this. I literally struggled with this every single day, constant mental dialogue, hated my body, had like hardly any self-worth at all. And by way of me removing my weight loss blockers, I was also able to really claim my power and go, oh my gosh, my self-worth went up. I started doing what I love for work. Everything, my relationships got so much better. My friendships got so much better. Like everything in my life changed. And now this has happened, this happens with our students as well too. So I want you to know that it is possible to overcome this. And, that there is hope, and there's proof that people can overcome this. All right. So let's get into the third weight loss blocker. So the third weight loss blocker, like I said, it is the most powerful one. Okay. And about 80% of my students have this. So not everybody has it. It's actually not as common as the first one. But it's the strongest weight loss blocker. And so the way that this one works is that if you have this weight loss blocker, we get rid of, so like say you have all 7 of the weight loss blockers and we get rid of 6 of them, but not this one, you'll actually still hold on to extra weight because this one is so strong. So, when I work with people in my advanced program, one of the things that we tackle first is this. So let me explain to you what this is, because if you don't get a handle on this, it's nearly impossible to lose weight and keep it off. So this one comes from, we call it the I'm Too Sexy weight loss blocker. So it actually comes from sexual abuse. So the way that I describe sexual abuse is actual physical abuse, where somebody did something to you and it affected you in a bad way, where, it's the common explanation of sexual abuse. We all know what that is. But I also explain it as somebody making you feel uncomfortable in your body. So a story and a thing that I see a lot of women do is they'll kind of bad things will happen to them about their body, or like bad sexual experiences will happen to them, but they'll push it off like it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples, right? So I once had a woman who said, oh yeah, when I asked her about this, she said, Oh yeah, I remember when I was in kindergarten, some boys, made me go behind a bush and they were like asking me to see my boobs. And like, I was so dumb. I shouldn't have done that. And I just, I'm just shaking my head. But I mean, I too have had this weight loss blocker and I too have said these things. So I get it. I understand. So I want you to know that even anything like that, a boyfriend making you feel uncomfortable, forcing you to have sex, even something as simple as running down the soccer field and maybe, you developed faster than the other kids in your school and people made comments about your breasts or your body in some way. That can be sexual abuse. And it's a sexual boundary violation is what it is. Okay. So it can be anything from sexual abuse to sexual boundary violation. Another story I commonly use, a woman that I worked with, she was in her 50s. She talked about this boy. She was on the playground. She was like maybe 10 years old. And they were at recess, and this boy came up to her, and he had these glasses, and he goes, "I can see through your clothes with my special glasses." And she was freaked out because she thought he actually could see her naked. And so what is that? That's a sexual boundary violation, right? So, I once had a student whose grandmother made comments about her body. That's a boundary. That's a body sexual boundary violation, right? So I want you to think about it. I want you to write down in the I'm Too Sexy weight loss blocker. I want you to write down some of the things that have happened to you and just make lists. If there's been multiple things like there have been with a lot of people, make a list and write those things down because it's really, really important. So let's do an exercise. If you're not really sure if you have this weight loss blocker, let's do an exercise, okay? So let's say you've lost your weight. You feel fantastic about yourself. You're all dressed up in an outfit that's brand new and fancy. And you're out at a bar or a restaurant. And you walk up to the bar and you order a drink. And all of a sudden you notice all these men around you and they want to talk to you and they want your number. How much anxiety does that give you on a scale from 0 to 10? Men or women, if you're a man, or whatever your sexual preference is, those people are looking at you as like bait. Basically, like they're like, wow, that girl's hot and we want to get to know her. We want to talk to her. How does that feel? So if you feel excited and like, oh yeah, wow, I have all these candidates and all these people want to date me, then you don't have this weight loss blocker. But if you have any anxiety at all, like, even a 2 or higher, which probably most of you are at a 10 right now, you definitely have this weight loss blocker. Okay. And so I want you to write down some of the bad things that happened to you, so that you can really put the pieces of the puzzle together, because those are the things that are causing your extra weight. This is a really interesting story. So Karen, she had this weight loss blocker too. And you can see here, she's pretty slim. She didn't start out holding on to that much weight. So even people, but she had this weight loss blocker. So some people, the way that they deal with their sexual boundary violations is by just adding a few extra pounds, like maybe 5 or 10 pounds, or some people add 400 pounds, or somewhere in between. There's a lot of different ways that people can do this. So she just added a little extra weight so that she wasn't as attractive to the opposite sex. And now if you think about it, and if you look at all the reasons and all these weight loss blockers, can you see now how your subconscious mind has actually been trying to protect you from something bad happening? So like if you've had these like, sexual boundary violations or something really bad happened to you the last time you lost weight, can you see why it's actually a good thing that you've held on to this extra weight, or at least why your brain thinks that? Because your brain thinks as soon as you lose weight, something bad's going to happen. So that is why you can't stick to your diet. That is why you sabotage yourself. That is why you eat chocolate. That is why you feel out of control. That is why this is the one thing that you can't get a handle on, because you have your subconscious mind thinks it's taking care of you. All right. So I already kind of told you this, but I really do feel like women are so powerful, and we are here. And I think, I believe more and more women are stepping into their power, and, we're seeing it. Even the, major companies are starting to market towards women. They're starting to realize that women have this power. They have, 80% buying power in the home. And I really believe that women are here and for greatness. And when we struggle with food and when we struggle with insecurities, it holds us back from who we are really born to be. And I don't know if you felt like that. I know many of my students and my clients have told me that they have felt like this. So I want to do a little exercise with you. Let's fast forward, like say 6 to 12 months into the future, and you have stepped into the body of your dreams. You've lost the weight. You have complete freedom from food. You only eat when you're hungry. You can have some chocolate and the things that you really like, but it doesn't call to you like it does. What does that allow you to be or to do or to have? So some examples just to give you an idea, and I want you to write these things down. Some people say, oh, well, I would start a business, or I would get into a new relationship. I would start dating. I would have more sex with my partner, or we would have a closer relationship, or maybe I would write a book, or I would travel, or I'd be able to play with my grandkids, whatever it is. What is that for you? These are the things that your weight is holding you back from. So let's walk through a day in your life. How do you spend your day? Wake up in the morning and think about, how do you spend your day? What happens to you? Do you wake up and exercise? Do you wake up excited? Are you happy? Do you get up and you do what you absolutely love? I bet your day looks really different, right? All right, so now on a scale from 0 to 10, how motivated would you say you are to reach these goals? All right, awesome. If you're like an 8 or higher, I bet you're asking yourself, how do I get rid of my weight loss blockers? That's what most people ask me at this point. They're like, Brittany, I get it. I know about all my problems. Now, what the heck do I do about it? So this is where it gets really cool. So I've already talked, I'm really an expert in working with the subconscious mind as it relates to food cravings and weight issues. And I've specifically kind of adapted a lot of alternative healing methods into kind of my own little formula to remove the 7 weight loss blockers. So I call it the Watkins method. Me and my coaches, we use the Watkins method. And what it is it's a combination of several advanced healing techniques with visualization and eye movement techniques. And what happens is it actually stimulates the brain to release the craving and the memory. And like I said, this doesn't require willpower at all. Okay, so first what we do is we uncover your weight loss blockers through a series of questions. So kind of like what we did today, right? Then what we do is we start talking about some of the past things, and we go through the Watkins method using the Watkins method, which is, you can call it acupressure stimulation or tapping, and some other tools from psychotherapy and some other tools that I've just learned along my journey. What we do is we start to remove these weight loss blockers. So while you're talking about your past while doing these techniques, it actually triggers the part of your brain that has stored these memories. So the memories in the brain are stored in the hippocampus. And we can actually see with brain imaging devices that what's happening is when you have negative memories, there's a signal that's being sent from your hippocampus to your amygdala, which is your amygdala is your body's alarm system. This is what makes us nervous. You probably have heard of the fight or flight response. So this is why when we get stressed or anxious, we'll eat food, because we're trying to calm that part of ourselves down. So what happens when we do these techniques, we actually send a flood of serotonin to the hippocampus, to that part of the brain, and it shuts off the alarm signal. And it actually stops the neurotransmitter from sending that connection. So basically what happens is that you can feel stressed without craving any food or without having to eat food. And what happens actually is that your brain has a healing change. So you separate your traumas you heal the traumas from your hippocampus, and it separates that behavior, and you're able to actually throw food away. This is me in a workshop throwing food away, having participants throw food away. It's not a problem at all. They have zero anxiety about it at all, which means their weight loss blocker is removed. So your brain has a chemical shift, and what you experience is that your desire for the food actually is completely different. So a lot of people will say, oh, the food just tastes different, or it smells different, or it just doesn't look as good, or I can taste the chemicals in it. And that's how you know that your brain has had this shift. So one of the things that happens from our students is that they will tell us that they are happy for no reason. They start feeling confident and sexy, like they've stepped into their power. They're no longer sabotaging themselves with food. They are blossoming in their business, or they're having the courage to change careers. or they're dropping weight and they didn't even realize it until people started complimenting them. And this is because what we're working on is connected to so many other areas of your life. It's not just weight. Yes, it does affect your weight, but it's connected to also your self-esteem. So that's why, with other weight loss programs, you're just working on your weight. But with this, what we do is we change the brain chemistry, and there's all these other positive side benefits that come out of it, which is really cool. Katrina, one of my students, said when she first started the program, her marriage was in the toilet and it went from nearly ending to thriving. The energy between us is totally different now. We're so happy and in love. And they actually had a baby. Well, she didn't think she could get pregnant. This has happened with 3 or 4 of the girls in my program, where they started to remove these subconscious blocks, and they were able to get pregnant. So she was told that she'd never be able to get pregnant. They actually had a oops baby who's now like 3 years old or something, and she's so cute. I call her my Thinkin' Thin baby. Lindy says, I've never experienced anything like this in terms of support. It's the most amazing, or from anything I've ever done to help myself, it's the amazing connectedness of some really, really incredible people from all over the world. All right, so most people want to know now, okay, how can I do this for myself? So I have a Thinkin' Thin. I have a 6-week program. We call it the Thinkin' Thin 6-week program. It has 6 different modules with 6 different techniques to remove all 7 of the weight loss blockers. So the other weight loss blockers that we didn't have time to talk about today, there's actually different techniques for each of them. There's one technique that's the same for 2 of them, but all the other weight loss blockers have a completely different technique. And so in this training program, we go through each one of the 7 weight loss blockers, and we do an exercise together that removes the weight loss blocker. Okay, so we sell it on the website for $1,000 right now. So if you go to BrittanyWatkins.com, you can get it right there. So the way that it works is that you have weekly group calls with me. Like I said, we eliminate the 7 weight loss blockers together. So you can participate, though. It's an online, it's a digital program, so you can participate from anywhere in the world. But much like I'm doing here in this photo, we work together as a group. I walk you through the method, and we show you videos of how to do it from your own home. So here I'm just going to talk about some of the cool things that you get. So you get the 6 modules that remove all 7 of the weight loss blockers, and we built this neuro reconditioning audio program that reinforces each one of the lessons. So you can put that onto your iPhone or your smartphone, or you can download it to your computer, and it helps you just reinforce the lessons from each week. And there's exercises that you can kind of do like at any point, anytime you have a problem. The next bonus gift is awesome. Like, this is the number one, the coolest thing that I offer, which we didn't even talk about, but this is the binge eliminator. So I came up with this technique that actually, it can cure emotional eating in the moment. So when you have that really strong craving, or you have that really strong urge to eat, and you're like, but I just ate and I shouldn't eat again. There's actually a technique that I developed that allows you to push that food away. It also works for alcohol, cigarettes, shopping, lots of other things. You can get really complicated with this, but it reduces binges by 80% if you use it over time. So in that moment, when you use it in that moment, it takes about 10 minutes, but you will literally be able to push that food or that thing away from you, not feel any deprivation at all. I promise. I know this sounds too good to be true if you've never heard about my work before, but the binge eliminator is really, really powerful. So you get that in the Thinkin' Thin program as well. You're also going to get the 300 limiting beliefs worksheet. This is just a catalog of all the limiting beliefs that you could possibly have about yourself, about your body, and about your weight. And one of the things that I tell our students to do is to fill this out in the beginning and the end of the program, because what we do, because the techniques work on such a deep level, it just clears at such a deep level, we get rid of a lot of limiting beliefs in one go. So what I tell people to do is fill this out in the beginning and at the end of the program, to just notice the changes and all the limiting beliefs that they collapse just by doing these a few simple techniques. So the next bonus gift is a mind movie brain entrainment. So this is really cool. You can download this to your smartphone as well, or your computer, and it's actually encoded with subliminal subconscious messaging that heals your brain. So this is something really cool to use like in the morning and in the night. And the last bonus gift is that we actually have live laser coaching calls so that you can, I can answer questions about your specific blocks. So some people will be like, yes, but like how, if I have questions about something that's coming up, like how do I get those answered? So we actually have, with each module, we have live laser coaching calls that I address, where you guys can write in, tell me what your questions are, and then I address them on the call. The last bonus gift, or no, this isn't the last, we've still got a few more, is the private Facebook group in the Ask Brit forum. So if you don't use Facebook, we also have a forum on the website where you actually get to connect with me, ask me your questions, and I'm in there answering questions. I also have a lot of my coaches in there answering questions as well for you, which is really cool. The bonus gift number 7 is the Naturally Slim Eating Plan. So you will be able to learn how to eat burgers and french fries and chocolate without gaining weight. And I know that sounds crazy, but naturally slim people have this natural way to eat where they can eat whatever they want and not gain weight. And I'm sure you have those like skinny friends that they seem to eat whatever they want and they don't gain a pound. Well, it's because they have this subconscious strategy. And in this program, I actually teach you what that is. So each week you get an action sheet and an agenda sheet to record your progress. So we have these really beautiful printouts of the lessons so that you don't get confused. If you're more of like a visual, you like to write things down, which I do too, you can print these out from your computer for each week. This is what it looks like. We have like really beautiful workups. And basically summaries of each lesson so that you can remember what we talked about, you know what actions you need to take so that you can make sure that you get everything done. It's super, super well organized. All right, so this is, again, what you get: the auditory and visual learning, value $500, laser coaching sessions, value $1,750, the action sheets, $150, agenda sheets, $150, the community, $250, the Naturally Slim Eating Plan, $150, neuro reconditioning audios, $150, the ongoing support, $350, the 300 limiting beliefs worksheet is $100, and the echo tapping binge eliminator, which will change your life, value $200. That should be priceless. So the total price of the Think and Thin 6-week program is $3,750. But obviously you're not going to pay that. We do sell it online, like I said, for $1,000. But again, I'm not going to have you pay that either. Just because you were here, because you went through this training, because you listened and you hung in there with me to the end, I want to give you a special 40% discount, one payment of $600. But for the next 10 people, if you're just super, super motivated and you're like ready to do this, I want you to jump on board. I'm going to give you an extra $100 savings. So you'll be able to get the 6-week program for 50% off right now. If you go to BrittanyWatkins.com/6-week, you can also click the button below and you can get it. If you're one of those really super motivated people, you could just save a bunch of money. You get 50% off of what I sell this in my workshops. I sell this online every day for $1,000. You can get it 50% off right now. This is literally the only place you'll be able to get that though. Once this is over, once we've closed the doors on this, the price will go back to $1,000. We also have a budget-friendly plan. I've definitely been there where things are just a little too tight. So if that's you, we've got 3 easy payments of $199. All right, so again, just to review the payment options, we've got a 40% discount that'll be available for the next 7 days, at $600. If you're one of the first 10 people to join, to click that button, you can get it for 50% off for $499 and save an extra $100 today. And basically, if you still see that button below, that means that you can still register and join for the, you're still one of the first 10 people. So, all right, so my guarantee with this, I give you a 30-day money-back risk guarantee. So there's literally no risk. I guarantee that if you do these techniques that I teach in the program, that you will never struggle with food or cravings again. You'll know exactly how to manage your emotional eating. Your binge eating, if you use these techniques and you continue to use them properly, your binge eating will go from 100%, what it is now, to down to 20 or even 10% in 3 to 6 months if you use it properly. You have 30 days. We guarantee that this works for you. You can get your money back. You literally have nothing to lose. So I just, want to say here, I just want to answer a few questions that I know come up for people. So if you've got some questions that maybe I didn't answer in the program, I want to go through those really quickly. So when does the program start? The program starts on Monday, but you will be able to get access to your bonuses right away. If you're really busy, I've had people that are like traveling, that are going like crazy all over the world. They've got kids, they've got really busy lives. They're still able to do this. There is an hour class, usually an hour and a half. There's a 30-minute live laser call. And, there's some extra videos, you can watch the videos and you can do the homework. So basically, you can download this and keep this for a lifetime. So, we do a slow progression. We actually give you a week off in between. So we're going to give you a rest period in between week 3 and 4 to like catch up. So if you fall behind, so most people find that it's really easy to fit everything in. Is there a diet plan, or do I have to buy any expensive food? No, there's no diet plan. We do talk about the Naturally Slim eating guidelines, but those are more of a strategy as far as eating goes. So about how to eat, it's more of a psychological thing. I do not recommend any certain diets. I feel like everybody has a way to eat that's specific for them, and so there's no expensive food that you have to buy. There's absolutely no diet plan, nothing like that. Do you have to exercise? Some people do and some people don't. It's a hard question for me to answer. We actually have one module that talks about exercise, that we do a mind technique to reprogram the subconscious mind so that you actually can get excited about exercising. So I'm a big fan of exercise. I think it just makes everything in my life better, and it makes me feel better and happier and all that stuff. So I love exercise. But do you have to do that to make this work? No. Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. So that's not really a clear answer, but with people, it's very different. Sometimes we have people, they remove their weight loss blockers and all the weight falls off. And then other people, they remove their weight loss blockers and they start exercising and all their weight falls off, but then it sticks permanently. So those are kind of the two things that I usually see when we remove the weight loss blockers, speaking about exercise. What if it doesn't work for me? I know people always think that, like, I know you've had so many failed diets and there's been so many things that you have tried that have not worked. And I know how bad that and how sucky that is. What I want to say to you is that this is something that is going to be so different. I know that there's going to be a lot of resistance for you. The resistance is usually because this will actually work for you. So if you have some of those thoughts coming up, I say jump in. If it doesn't work, you've got 30 days. Just let us know. Send us an email. We will give you your money back. You don't have any risk, okay? And it's just as simple as an email. You don't have to mail anything back to us. We don't make it difficult for you at all. So if this doesn't work for you, I believe in this product wholeheartedly. I've helped thousands of people with this exact problem. So I know it works. I've literally never had anybody that I can't help. So if it doesn't work for you, just shoot us an email. I will definitely do my best to help you in the Facebook group, or we can do a chat or something like that. But, it's never not worked, but if it doesn't, you absolutely have no risk. You can get your money back. Do you have to write a food journal? No, you do not. I'm not going to be asking you to keep track of your food at all. That is not what this program is about. This is about working with the things that you're conscious of. So working with food cravings, emotional eating, self-sabotage. We're going to be clearing all of those subconscious blocks and all of those behaviors that drive you freaking crazy. That's what we're going to be focusing on. We're not going to be focusing on taking down food, because I know you've probably already done that. And I know you know what you eat. I know you overeat. You don't need to be reminded of that again. So no, that's definitely not what this is about. My last and favorite question, can I still drink wine or can I drink alcohol? I really like drinking wine, and I do enjoy a cocktail or two. So I am an absolute proponent of continuing to drink wine when things are not, when you're over drinking. Actually, you can use these same techniques to eliminate that or to cut that back. So, if you like to drink alcohol and you know that maybe you're drinking a little bit too much, or you'd like to change that, then you can use these same exact techniques to work on that. And I actually will talk about that in the program, how you can relate this to not just food, but alcohol and other unhealthy behaviors that you don't like in your life. But yeah, I definitely have had students. I think I'm all about balance, and this isn't about cutting anything out. I'm not going to ask you to have willpower to not eat certain foods. This is more about, hey, there's a technique. Let's try it and see if it works for you. Okay, so you're not going to feel this like this tug of war contest or this push pull, like, oh, I really want to have some wine, but I know I shouldn't. You're going to have a technique that's going to shift your brain chemistry so you actually don't want it and it feels natural, and you're just going to be like, oh, actually, I want to go for a walk outside, or I want to go snuggle with my honey, or whatever. Okay. So that's really how this program works. And that's, I think that's the end. That's the end of the question. So I've loved being here with you. Thank you so much for sticking to the end. If you have any questions, you can email us, support@brittanywatkins.com. I want you to share your ahas with me. So I told you this earlier. If you're not already friends with me on Facebook, find me on Facebook. It's Brittany Watkins 3, the number 3. BrittanyWatkins.com Facebook.com/Brittany Watkins 3. Find me on Facebook, share your aha, and tag me so that I can see your aha moment, and I can just know that I did a really good job. So if you have any other questions that I didn't answer, again, you can email us at support@BrittanyWatkins.com. Go ahead and click the button below if you want to be the first 10 to grab those, to get the program at the full 50% off. Go ahead and click the button below and grab it right now. Sending you a big hug and lots of love. I've had a fantastic time here, and I hope you guys learned a lot and got as much out of this as I got out of it for me as well. And I can't wait to connect with you, and whether we work together in this program or not, I hope that you stay connected, and I share lots of cool things and videos and things like that that come out on social media and on my email list. You can get on my email list at BrittanyWatkins.com. All right, everybody, have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care. Bye.